My name is Ari. I attend Columbus Alternative, and recently I was at COSI Columbus meeting with panelists NASA Future Forums. Welcome, Dr. Sullivan. I'm here with Dr. Sullivan. She is the director of the Patel Center for Math and Science.
That's right, Math and Science. Actually, education policy is what we're going to work on at the Patel Center.
Okay. So, tell us about your career and what you do.
Well, I think you can really understand my career in one word, and that is explorer. So from a very early, very young fascination with maps and places, and getting to travel just on family vacations, converting into an interest of foreign languages, which kind of let me explore the literature and the ways that different peoples in different countries express themselves. Most of the languages I've learned over the years are European, but great sort of a window, a different kind of window on a country and a people to actually be able to meet them in their language. In college, I converted to a science major because I encountered freshman year the profession of geologist and oceanographer. I'd never heard of that before, and the people who were instructing some of those sciences were really neat guys and very passionate and out in the field, going places. Someone who loved maps, these guys are going places all the time. And part of how they do their work is to make maps and add more information to maps. So that was really intriguing, and I decided to major in geology with a special focus on the oceans. So I'm really an oceanographer that focuses on the rocks and sediments and volcanoes of the ocean. Just as I was finishing up a PhD in that field, NASA came back around to make this first selection of astronauts that it had made in almost a decade. So this was the gap between the end of the Apollo program and the start of the shuttle program. And the hiring for the start of the shuttle program just lined up very conveniently with where I was in my graduate work. And that, that's a form of exploration that is pretty irresistible to someone who loves doing expeditions, loves putting field programs together, and for someone who, boy, to get to look out the window of a spaceship yourself and notice that Italy actually does look exactly like the maps, you can't pass that up.
So how did you choose your career?
It's I chose it by exploring. I'm not one of those people that had a label, a job title, very specific when I was very young. I could tell you things I was curious about. That was a long list. I could tell you certain topics in particular I really was fascinated about. And as I got older, I had a couple courses in middle school that start for the first time to talk a bit about how do interests become characteristics of a job. If you try to build a career around your strengths and interests, how does that happen? That made me think a little bit more about what have I recognized in myself? What things do I seem to be good at? What activities do I tend to like? Do I tend to like to be sort of a little more solitary or work in small groups? Do I love to be in big groups? Those kind of things I began to realize come in different packages when you go off to find certain kinds of jobs. Really, I finally picked what I wanted to do by meeting people who were already in those fields and they didn't look like me. They were not female. They were older than me, and they were male, and there were no people of color. But those were not the things I was looking at. I was looking at the intellectual curiosity. I was looking at what is this person's life like? Are they out in the field, or are they in a quiet office all the time? What kinds of things, what kinds of tools do they use to do this work? And relating those back to my best understanding of, are those kinds of things I like? Because that's something that's always fascinated me. And just eventually finding this, I could see myself in that person's role in life, even though they didn't look like me. But I could see the curiosity. I could see the adventure of going off into the outdoors. I could see those things and said, I can see that. And then the next question, though, is, can you actually become good enough at this to make it the center point how you're going to earn a living? And then you just have to kind of come back into yourself and, in my case, buckle down in some university courses. Buckle down in a couple of the hard ones from the really excellent, really tough professor, and find out, do you have the determination and the discipline and the smarts to climb that hill and pass that class?
So with your career now, what's difficult about it?
Well, you know, what's difficult about my role right now is also what's really fabulous about it. This center that I'm in charge of is very new, and when I was hired to lead it, I was not given a detailed instruction sheet. This is exactly what we want it to do here, you know, go make these things happen. Instead, I was given sort of a blank sheet of paper. We've set up this opportunity. We want the center to contribute to helping the achievement and the competency in science and technology and engineering and math education, STEM education. Students, you know, everybody in Ohio, all students in Ohio should be better educated, know more, be more competent and fluent in those than is true today. And we need more folks going into science-related professions. And we need leaders in business and banking and government that better understand science. And we'd like your center to find ways to contribute to making that future come to pass. So that's what's really cool, is to get to just imagine this is what science and engineering is, a question that doesn't have an answer yet, and I get the chance to figure out how do I build a worthwhile answer. That's also the hard part. It's a big, complex set of challenges, and lots of different groups and organizations already in the mix, so what's valuable and what's really worthwhile for this center now to add to that? That's kind of a creative question. Imagine being the next person that decides to make their living in painting or photography. There's a lot of photographers out there. What's valuable about Ari joining the scene as a photographer? What's distinctive? That's a really good, creative, quality question.
Who inspired you to do all the things you're doing now?
You know, I have taken inspiration from more people than I could count. My father was an aerospace engineer and really adored what he was doing, so I saw a model there of someone who's just really passionate and creative, and he's not sludging off to work, hating that he has to go. Happens to have the fortune to do things he really adores to make a living for his family. My mother never worked outside the home after my brother and I were born, but she had a huge intellect, and I think, my curiosity about cultures and countries and the way that the world works sort of socially and politically. I got that all from her. She never stopped having that curiosity, never stopped reading about it, and never stopped making it part of our conversations. And as a youngster, my first explorations were all in books. And I read about foreign places, and I also read about people who led interesting lives. And again, most of them didn't look like me, came from wealthier families or poorer families of different countries. But I looked at the qualities that I saw in them of courage or of discipline and courage overcoming an illness, whatever it might have been. And I learned something from every one of them about what kinds of characteristics are in a person that actually takes on the challenge as part of their life.
How would you encourage others to focus on your career?
Well, I think there's a sort of simple answer that's sort of simple to say, but very, very powerful if you actually hold it in your mind every day and do it. And I think it's actually the more important answer than a certain set of courses to take, or be sure you go to a certain college. Those things are less important. But really feed and support and continue to develop your curiosity and your passion for learning. If you want to go into the sciences, if you want to reach levels of competitive levels like astronaut, people who achieve that tend to be people who have a natural little spring in themselves that's always curious, always interested, always loves to learn something new. Rarely says, I don't really need to know that, never mind. Just, tell me about that. So cultivate that. It's partly native and it's partly cultivated. And the other thing is, becoming an astronaut starts in school right now at whatever grade you're in. Your day in school is an opportunity being put on a plate for you to learn things from the books and the people and the students around you that have different talents and different knowledge than you do. Some of them are good at delivering it, some of them are not so good, but it's there, it's that opportunity. So if you can just go to school each day and say, this is not what you are doing to me. This is my opportunity to take in as much of that as I can, and my philosophy is going to be, I want to get the best, I want to get the most out of that every day that I possibly can. And if you can live to that each day, it'll carry you forward and improve your academics, it'll improve your knowledge base, and you'll come out of your schooling as well equipped as you can possibly be to take on the big challenge or the great opportunity.
If you were able to change your career, what would it be?
I wouldn't change it for the world. I've had, as a person who has a broad curiosity and almost sort of too broad an array of interests, the blessing of my career is that it has been so varied in countless ways, in kinds of things. I've done science, I've done policy, I've done engineering, I've done field exploration, I've done great intellectual challenges, I've been able to build buildings, transform institutions, lead people all around the country, partway across the world, in the government, in the military, in academia, in nonprofits. I wouldn't change a thing.
Okay. When you look over the years and what you've done, what makes you most proud?
I take some pride in the way I've lived my life and tried every day to do my work. I feel a real blessing in the number of people I've had a chance to maybe give a little teaching, share a little teaching with. Sort of the typical answer to that question, I guess, might be out of all the stuff I did in the space program, what am I proud of doing? I'll tell you what, I am proud to have been on the team that put the Hubble telescope into orbit, and I'm really proud to have been on the smaller team that you never hear anything about. A small team of engineers and a couple of astronauts that worked for 5 years with no publicity or fanfare to be absolutely positive that the toolkit we had built to fix the Hubble and keep it going was the right toolkit and all the tools would work. And we did that, the two of us that were astronauts, we did that knowing quite likely we will never get to go be famous on one of the flights that repairs the telescope. So the fact that the Hubble telescope was restored and its eyesight restored and it's done all the great things it's done, that goes to that team of people who worked on behalf of all the discoveries Hubble could make if we made sure we did the toolkit right. So I have a fingerprint on every single discovery Hubble has ever made. I don't have my name on any of the press releases, but I have a fingerprint on every single discovery it's ever made, and that's the thing I'm proudest of.
Thank you for your time, Dr. Sullivan.
Pleasure.